G'day, Tony here. We're in the shed, refurbished with the, or retrofitted with the hoist, the concrete slab. And it's been amazing. You may be able to hear in the background, it's windy as it always is here. I used to have to work in the carport on the conveyor belt rubber in crap like this, doing maintenance on the cars. So we've got a reasonable tax return. Had a bit of a look online and was quite surprised to see how affordable these hoists are. This is a Aussie car hoist import. What is it? A Hi-Lift, I think they call it. Yes, Hi-Lift. I was warned off this lift because apparently they're junk and weak and don't weigh what people say they will and all number of other things, and pointed in the direction of other hoists, many of which were the same hoist with a different badge on them. So yeah, I've noticed the most popular hoist that is mentioned on the socials happens to be in a lot of sheds of influencers. So you know, these days with things coming out of the same factory in China and getting a different sticker or colour paint put on them, it's pretty hard to get fair income info on the units, because often the only difference is the marketing department in the company that, you know, choose the colour to put them on and sell them under their name. So yeah, the power of marketing, huh? If there's a lesson in that, it's just try and be aware of it, especially in this day and age when so much equipment comes out of, well, China. I've got the hoist and it's been amazing. I love it. I can work in here when it's raining outside, blowing its guts out. I've been able to find wheel bearings in Anne's car and replace them quite easily. She's got a 2009 Pajero. Our camper trailer, I popped up on here and had a look and found that the wheel bearings in it were absolutely shot. They sort of, you give them the shake test on the ground and they didn't seem that bad, but pop them up in the air, and that was good. It was, you know, good, nice working height to do the job. It's spring here. We're in central Victoria in Australia. You'd think it'd be warm, wouldn't you? But it's not. Yesterday it was feels like 0.3 and the temperature, real temp, was about 6 degrees, and we had a mate's car in here checking out some auxiliary power systems, and it was too long to shut the doors and it was horrible. The wind's blowing from the south and my shed doors point due south. So I mean, the good thing about that is the house is also on the same orientation, and the roof where we've got the solar panels point due north. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. But yeah, I got the hoist in and whacked the cruiser up to do an oil change. It was harder to do the oil change on the hoist than it was to do it on the ground when it came to you know, positioning the oil pan. The rest of it was fantastic. It was good to get under and undo the bash plates and whatnot without sort of being cramped under it on the ground. But I spilled oil on my new slab, which, you know, made me pretty happy. So the algorithm being the algorithm, it's recommending every hoist under the sun for me to buy, and everything that hoist suppliers sell. And then Temu has been jamming things on my page, and I don't like Temu. You know, I think these cheap things are implementing a race to the bottom, but when the more expensive alternative is pretty much the same stuff out of the same factory with a different badge, you know, you're a fool and their money are easily parted. So, you know, why pay $300 for something that's got sticker A on it when it's exactly the same as something for $180 that's got sticker B on it? I don't like it, but, you know, money's hard to come by, isn't it? So with that in mind, the algorithm shoved one of these on my page for ages, and I thought it's a bit decadent, a bit wanky, a bit of a load of crap. And then when I spilt my oil on my new slab, I went, ooh, maybe I'll get one of those. So it's $180. I've got a couple of LPG tanks that I was going to make into one, but it was going to cost me more in fittings and casters and whatnot to do that than to just buy one made. So I will use the LPG tanks probably to make a fertiliser spreader or a seed spreader, which will be driven by a diff that I kept out of an old lawnmower. So I might make a video of that when I do it, or I might not. So there we go. I'm not a YouTuber, I just like sharing little tips that I find. So with that said, I did that oil change on the cruiser. It was a bit of a pain in the bum. Anne's Pajero was ready for an oil change, so I thought I'll wait till this doodah arrives before I do her car. The beauty of it is it's got a telescoping oil catch can, so I can sort of get it up close to where the bung is, and you don't have to worry about, you know, if the pan's on an angle like this and the bung's in like this, you don't have to try and judge the arc of the oil and put your catch pan where it needs to be. So I'm pretty excited to give this a shot, because I'll be honest, when I spent all this money on the hoist, it was, you know, $4.5 grand for the slab, only $100 for the hoist, a bit of time and effort to put it in. I was a bit upset that it didn't make my oil change go perfect, so let's see if this redeems it. Let's get her out of the box and see what the crack is. While I do this, I started saying before, I thought it was a bit decadent having gear like this in your car. I don't know if I made the point though. This was $180 delivered from Temu, shop like a millionaire. I was pretty reluctant to use Temu, you know, it was something new, and I'm an old fart, I'm nearly 50, well a few years off but not far. I kind of hate the business model of all these things, but you know, between that and splashing oil all on my shed floor. And the other thing is, if you do buy an expensive item, 9 times out of 10 it's the same product out of the same factory with a different colour paint and a different set of stickers on it. So, you know, it's the world we live in. It sucks, but what can you do? You know, I just thought I'd clear that up. But yeah, the hoist, $3,150 from Aussie Car Lifts. The slab was $4,200, $180. I bought a creeper for $30 or something from Auto Barns. It's amazed me how affordable this stuff is in this day and age. When I was a young apprentice, I'm a refrigeration mechanic by trade. When I was a young apprentice, I think even the main home mechanic in the town we lived in didn't have a hoist, and he did a lot of work on Lino Miotto. He was a magician, but now it's not out of reach. You know, this could be a holiday for a lot of people, but you know, we've got 50 acres and 10 horses. We don't get to have holidays. You can't really leave a farm like that. So, and as I said, I've done all the work in a carport on a bit of conveyor belt rubber in the past. This is, I don't mind treating myself. 8 years I've done that, and for how affordable this stuff is, I figured why not. Before I bring the Pajero in, we'll have a look at this in closer detail. So The idea of it is you've got your catch pan and you drain your oil down into the reservoir drum. We have this here emptying line with a valve which would normally be closed. We have a sight glass here. So when the barrel fills up to a level that we want to empty it at, we make sure this is closed. We pop an air fitting on here, and you can control the air into the barrel. That puts pressure on top of the oil. Open this, and the air pressure pushes the oil out of here into your drum that you can take down to the recycling facility. So it holds 80 litres. We're only allowed to take, I think, 20 litres at a time down to the tip, so they get a bit funny if you take any more than 2 10-litre drums down, but you know, what's the alternative? Come on, guys. So yeah, that's how it is, how it works, right? And should be pretty convenient. I think I'll be able to do a few oil changes and then keep it in here until I'm doing a tip to the trip, keep the empty 10-litre barrels that the oil comes in, containers, and transport them down there. Alright, let's get this Pajero in. Alright, so apparently there's a document which I haven't been able to find, produced maybe by Molnar, that shows you the lifting points on most cars. As I said, it's a bit hard to find, but the most common info we get is to make sure the vehicle is balanced on the hoist, so that the hoist is in the middle, the hoist post is in the middle of the centre of gravity, I suppose, as front to back. There's an engine and a diff and all sorts of things in there. There's a diff, bitty bodywork, fuel tank, spare tyre here. So obviously the weight bias is towards the front of the car. So they say, as a rule of thumb, for a 4-drive wagon, that your centre of gravity, front to back, not up to down, not top to bottom, is around about halfway along the door. So you would think, where are we? You would think it would make sense to make the centre pillar, or the pillar, sorry. Good talking, Tony. You'd think that the pillar should be in the centre of the pickup points, and in the Pajero it's a monocoque body, so it doesn't have a chassis. That's your front lifting point, your jacking point. And this is your rear, either end of the step on the seam where the outer skin joins the floor skin, roughly, the floor skin. But that's not the case. If you put it there, there's a lot more weight forward or on the front arm of the lift. Now, don't take this as advice. This is just me talking out loud about the stuff that I have found while watching and searching the Intertrons. So I need to push the car back a little bit. All right, we'll get these feet hooked up. Not much room, eh? And I'll show you how I'm doing that so far. So again, this is the area we want to catch with the lifting pad. Look up your car's handbook, it'll show you where to jack it off. Jeez, floor skins and jacking off. What's going on, Anthony? And we're going to roughly locate these and lift the lift till they're not quite touching, and fine tune location. Then we'll get the vehicle off the ground a smidge once we're happy with the lifting pad location, and give it a rock, and it should feel, give it a rock and it shouldn't roll. God, it should feel, you know, like the weight isn't biased towards the front or the back. Well, my last video got interrupted by a phone call from my osteopath asking me where I was. Lucky it's a small town and everything's 5 minutes away. Okay. So I have lifted the arms of the hoist closer to the body, and just fine tune the location of the pad a little bit better. Now we'll, oh, good angle. Alright, so the wheels are still on the ground. The lift's taken a bit of weight off the hoist, and you just want the seam to be in the centre of your pad. This one's not, it's way off. I'm going to have to change that. Ugh. This one's pretty good. This one's a bit off also. Well, I'll have a take two. Alright, you can see the seam of the body. Maybe you can see it. There you go. It's lining up with the centre of the pad. We've got that at all 4 lifting points. So we will go ahead and lift it. The noise you can hear is the locking mechanism of the hoist. So it will lift up past the locking mechanism, which will fall into place. So if the hydraulic hose bursts, it's mechanically going to be caught, and you work on it only ever with all the weight on that locking mechanism. That's it there. To unlock it, you have to lift the hoist and then pull a lever, which gets that out of the way. So let's see if we can get an angle here. I'll wobble the car front to back. And it doesn't feel like there's any bias, like the car wants to tip off the front or the back. They're quite even feeling. I've got a mark on the lift that shows the height of this car. I'll show you whether it's parked in forwards or backwards. I've only got 3.1 metres to my cross beam up there, and from here where we operate the lift, it looks like it's about to hit it. So I've had a little bit of a check. And we've still got, doesn't look like it on the camera, but that's about 3 inches gap between the top of the car and the cross member of the shed. So here my marks line up. A mark on the hoist and a mark on the arm. Damn, it looks close. I haven't got the balls to send it. Let's climb up and double check. Yep. The problem is you've got to get it higher than the locking mechanism so it can drop back on. Yep. I could have trusted my mark, but I'd rather be safe than sorry on this one. Roscoe and my father have sent me the meme of the car crushed in half on top of the hoist. Right, so that is as high as I'm willing to go. Hang on. Which is a bit lower than I've had it. That's all right. I'm not going to give it a full send tonight. Okay, now. Garage creeper. This is the beauty of this device here. I don't have to try and judge the arc that the oil's going to come out of the drain pan at. I can just raise this to suit and get it in the area. It's had a bit of a pizzling, this car. My partner drives it and she is an equine vet and does a lot of on-site work. So it's spent the easy half of its life on dirt roads. These bolts tend to get jammed up with a lot of mud. It's easy to strip the thread. Of course, these bolts are about 38 times longer than they need to be. It's the second time I've crashed that. Gas 17mm. I'd bring the camera in, but I think that angle's going to show the advantage of this device a lot better anyway. From there. Right, I'll just glove up so I don't get me hands filthy. I did my apprenticeship in the 90s. I'm a refrigeration mechanic by trade. The coal mine in central Queensland, and they were just starting to bring safety in. And we all thought it was a load of tosh. But, you know, people had serious accidents on that mine site, and we just, and many others, and we just took it for granted. And I did not wear hearing protection, and gloves were not something we were encouraged to wear. And I have pretty, definitely have some form of hearing loss. I don't know how much of it's from being too bloody proud and stupid to wear safety gear. We know fuels and oils are carcinogenics, so yeah, gloves, they're cheap. Even if all they do is stop you getting dirty rotten diesel oil into your skin that you've got to scrub out, they've had some benefit. If they do something about the carcinogens, that's awesome. So I've got this valve closed at the moment, and the bottom one, oh you can't see it, but the bottom is closed for obvious reasons. Now, this car takes 10 litres of oil neat, but you know, it's done nearly 500,000 kilometres. It does burn a little bit of oil, but I'm going to start it draining and just keep an eye on this upper drain collection pan, because I'm not sure if I need this valve open or closed. I'm worried if it's open it might spit, you know, backfeed everywhere. But I will watch it to make sure it doesn't backfeed over the sides. This is so good. Straight in. No issues. No bloody dramas having to line up your oil pan to see, you know, and hoping it's in the right spot. Right, we're up to about here. It's got a cover over the drain plug with some smaller holes in it, so they're about, I don't know, 5-6 mil diameter. So if you do drop your oil drain plug, it'll just be in the bottom of this. It's not going to end up in the bottom of this vessel. Alright, it's about yay full now, so I'm going to open this valve because I don't want to, if it does splosh and bubble around, I don't want it to be too full. I'll just open this air compressor point because the oil's going in. It's going to displace air, and if that air's got nowhere to go, it'll only let so much oil through or bubble. So there we go. I've opened this air valve, and I don't know if you could hear it on the camera, but it actually had built up a positive pressure and did a bit of a shh as the oil that had, you know, let out the pressure of the air that was displaced by the oil that dropped in there. Is this worth $180 to me? Hell yeah, absolutely. I mean, I will get to at some stage painting this concrete. I've done a classic me and used things a little bit before I should have. So it's got red dirt ingrained into it, and a few, as I said, I've spilled a bit of oil on it, so I'll have to give it a degrease and a scrub, but I will paint it just to make spills easier to clean up. One day, but not this day. If you're interested, this is a 3.2 litre DID 4-cylinder turbo diesel Pajero. It's a 2009 model, but I'm pretty sure they were similar all the way from like around 2008 to the last ones that were made. So 17 mil oil spanner socket for the oil drain bung, 12 mil to remove the bash plate or, you know, cover plate. You only need to loosen the front two screws. The back two screws come fully out. The holes for the bash plate that come out are elongated, they're a U shape, so they can just slide into these loosened screws, bolts. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to call it a great success. Gee, that's a good shot. There you go. It's all drained down. There's nothing in the sight glass yet. This is the valve that I opened to release the pressure that had built up from the oil dropping down into this vessel and the air had displaced, having nowhere to go. I think at this stage I will make a habit of closing all the valves so that the oil can't splash around too hard and spill while I'm moving the thing around. Yeah, I'm stoked with that. That's great. Hope that's been of interest to you. The Temu Shop Like a Millionaire mobile drain pan, oil drain. I think it was about $180. It comes up for all sorts of prices, but if you keep press and refresh long enough, it drops down to that price. Yeah, I will mention it down the track the good, the bad, the ugly. I mean, it's a pretty simple thing. It's hard to see how much could go wrong with it. Probably the most notable thing will be seeing how it goes when it comes time to empty it out. And we'll just be popping an airline onto this fitting, pressurising the canister, opening this, and it will push the oil out of this hose into the empty oil container and off to the oil recycle facility at the local tip. Man, this is so much better than working in that carport out in the wind on conveyor belt. I love this. Cheers. Hopefully that's been of interest if you're wondering what that cheap Chinese oil stuff's like. All right, curiosity and impatience got the better of me. I'm going to evacuate the oil that we've just drained out back into the container it came from. One thing I did want to point out, this is fantastic. My old drain pan didn't have a mesh filter or anything on the top. This is great. Get the oil filter out, let it drain, give it a squirt with bloody degreaser or carby cleaner or whatever I used. Pop it back in that box that the new one came in. No mess. Really good. The only thing is the drain is not the lowest part of the pan, so it just needs a little bit of cleanup. But see if this is a good angle. Good enough. So I've just let some pressure out of my air compressor down to only 20 psi, which suits me fine. I've got this valve shut, bottom valve shut, air valve shut. Well, you can't see this. I've got all three valves shut that I spoke about before anyway. Right, that's loose, doesn't matter. The reason I want to do this is to see how much oil the old pad is burning. So if I introduce a bit of pressure into the vessel and then open the drain valve, drain port valve. Don't want to put too much pressure in there and burr it out. That's where you can see the oil make its way up. And I guess we'll just let that do its thing until we get air spurting out the bottom. Now it doesn't look like the evacuation point is the lowest part of the drain, so there goes my plan for seeing how much oil the old girl used. Turn the air compressor on. Oh, that was coming out. Okay. I built up a bit of pressure in the compressor. That's probably my only other criticism, is that the pickup point isn't from the lowest point in the drum, but that's not a fault of the product. That's just because my OCD can't be satisfied to see how much exactly how much oil came out. What have we got here? Now I've got all the valves open. I just want to back feed any oil in this evacuation hose. We'll just gravity feed it back into the tank. No doubt that'll drip a bit of oil over time. Might give that 5 minutes to settle back in and call it a night. Yep, pretty happy with that. That was a pretty simple process. Pretty easy to bugger it up, I reckon, if you forgot to close this here valve when you pressurised it and you had your telescoping stem all the way in. I reckon it could make a little geyser of oil everywhere in your shed out of there. So I bet you some people have done that, and I bet you it's going to be me at some stage. Anyway, hopefully that's been useful and informative to you. Cheers. If you're thinking about getting one, I can't see any glaring deficiencies the thing's got. Cool.